it, is to be able to tap into them and try and help them and create the support structure, and also understand their plight. And on the line with me, I have Dr. Anwar Jeewa from Minds Alive Wellness Center. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Nafisa.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think it's a very important topic, and we need to shed light on this matter in order for people to understand the journeys of the parents that go through this particular situation.
Mm-hmm. Just a correction you mentioned earlier on about, we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic, and, this topic is very, very pertinent. But we must understand that this scenario and these incidences that are taking place have been around with us, especially in the Muslim community or in generally just among all the different other groups and races for over 25 years now.
We agree totally with that.
Yeah,
but, I think during this period, there were so many issues that were taking place from a very long time. But I think what has happened is because people are in these constraints, these restricted environments, I think there's more light being shed on the matter of what is going on because people are stuck in the spot. The situations at home are not getting any better as far as GBV is concerned, as far as drug addiction is concerned, lots of other situations, anxiety and all those problems as well. And this is why we found it pertinent to bring this to people's attention, to be able to understand the plight of the parent who's going through this. Because, as I say, it's not just that person that is affected. It's an entire family. And now that we're in lockdown, it's a whole lot worse because everybody's stuck in that environment having to go through the same scenario.
Okay, I'm sorry to basically just correct you on this misconception. Yes, the COVID pandemic is definitely playing some role as far as being lockdown, anxiety, financial problems, job losses, unemployment, and things like that. But again, these incidences have been taking place over and over and again, and the reason why they're manifesting is because it has not been addressed, or there's no solutions that have been given to them, or no options and no alternatives.
That's true.
Because apparently what's happening at the moment is that we have already heard of another incident, and if I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected, in the last 5 years, this is the third incident that's taking place. Now, what happens, and as you mentioned, that, drug addiction does affect many in the family, approximately 16 to 19 people, directly and indirectly. Now, you must understand, because we have a huge drug addiction epidemic in this country since 1994 with the influx of drugs. We never used to hear or see these things that were common in the past. So what transpired is that because of the influx and availability and accessibility and porous borders, and also being recognized as the international drug route, apparently a lot of our younger generation has been easily exposed to these things. And what tends to happen to them is that the types of drugs that have come in the market over a period of years have become more stronger and more powerful. And we do know that drug addiction is mind-altering, mood-changing. So it changes the personality. It brings out the worst in the personality. The sad part is that families do not know what to do, where to go, where to take help. Yes, there are some great organizations that are doing wonderful work, like Sultan Bau, like Rauf, like quite a number of other organizations. But how much can they handle? So what transpires is that when a person has an addiction and when they need to feel an addiction, all they focus basically on is to getting the next fix. So that's why we see these scenarios where that they will start now trying to steal things from the house or steal things from the outside. And when family decides to put their foot down, what tends to happen to them is that the addict turns towards and against the loved ones, the ones that are closest, because they can manipulate them, they can abuse them, they can assault them, and things like that. So eventually, a parent or a mother becomes so frustrated that they say, okay, now what do I do now? How do I get rid of the solution? And how much can I take? And I'm taking these years of abuse. I mean, we know of incidences where they clean the house with everything, even when the mom is cooking a meal on a pot of food, that's also walking out just to go and feed the habit. So these scenarios that we're noticing, and I believe now a new one that recently surfaced, and there was one a couple of years ago where the mother got so frustrated, she took a rope and she basically went behind the child's neck and she says, I can't take this anymore. I just can't take this anymore. And she tied the rope around his neck and she killed him. Okay, she has got a suspended sentence and she's trying to do some community work. And I believe that these things are manifesting much more often now than before.
And it's actually a very scary situation. So, this is what we're saying is to these parents that there are support structures out there. They're not alone. And I think it's about us as community members also to be able to understand their plight, to be able to help them, through a support structure as such.
But I've been doing this work for over 20 years now, Nafisa. To be honest with you, there's not enough. To be honest with you, it's minimal, right? And that is the sad part, because again, we are trying to address the consequences of the problem. We're trying to address after the problem has really become so severe. What are we doing in our prevention program? What are we doing as far as trying to assist and bring and get families more support? You must understand the shame, the embarrassment. When you're going through this, when you're going through a drug addiction in your family or a drug addict in your family, you can't function. You must understand. That drug addict, he can get high, he can get floaty, he can be goofed, he is fine, he's in another world. But that family member, what do? Yes, they are support, but how much of support? That's why it needs to be increased. That type of outreach and education program need to be reached to these families to say, hey, you know what, come, we can give you the help. I mean, Tough Love has been in existence for so long. A lot of other organizations have been in existence for a long time. But the thing is that it's very small comparatively to the seriousness of the problem. So that is why families resort to these last resort to these extreme measures. We know of incidences where addicts have actually murdered family members.
Sure, that's
and
scary.
we also, yes, it's quite, it's been happening in the Muslim community.
You spoke about Sultan Bahu, but I seen that they were doing some online work during this COVID period, and I think that was nice because at that point in time when people needed that support structure because of this constraints of not being able to move around, at least there was some form of help through online, and I think that made a difference in some way. But quickly, what would you like us to know? What message would you like to leave us with? We seem to be running out of time. We will definitely tap into you at a later stage.
Well, to be very honest again, there are organizations that are providing support groups. During the COVID, obviously with no face-to-face contact, there are a lot of online stuff available. But again, the question that I need to ask, which I've been talking about for the last 20 years, how much help is there available? It's minimal. It's not reaching out to majority of the problem. I would say, and that's, to be honest with you, an exaggerated estimate that I would say that there's only 10% help available for families and addicts. 90% there is nothing. People just go along with their life. So what my message is basically is that we have to use, and I mentioned this many times, it has to be a few-pronged approach. It cannot just be that us cleaning the symptoms. You go to a doctor, you've basically been diagnosed with a problem, right? And we know today in the medical field, all doctors do treat symptoms. Do anybody treat the root cause?
No.
Now, without treating the root cause, you can treat the symptom as much as you want. The symptoms keep on coming back. So that's why when I speak about a multi-pronged approach, it has to start off with starting with the kids with prevention program. Then the second thing is obviously the law enforcement has to become vigilant and powerful and strong to curb the amount of drugs that are available. Then so number three, when you've got a problem, then obviously there has to be lots of information, a lot of awareness in a lot of different types of media. Okay, this is where you can get help. These are all the resources that are help available. It's important for you as a family member to take the necessary help. And then the last and the fourth one is obviously the help for the addict. Now, there are different types of help that are needed for an addict. First of all, you cannot force somebody to go in for help if they don't want to be helped. So then the tough love approach comes. Then secondly, when you go to residential centers, why do we think we have residential centers that are 21-day and 28-day programs? Not because they work. It's because medical aid only pay for that, and that's what they've been brainwashed for many years. Now, there are some people that need the detox, first proper detox. By using medical detox, what you do? You're substituting one drug to another drug. Then the second stage is residential center, which is short term. Then you will need some people that, okay, I cannot go long-term residential, I cannot stay the long-term residential center. So let me go to these support groups like Raouf, like Sultan Bahu, like the many others, like Sanka, that are all available. And then the last approach for those that cannot cope back in the community, then we need to look at the long-term residential centers, which is your 6 month, your 1 year program, and things like that. So that's your multi-pronged approach that needs to be used from all directions in order for us to see results. Otherwise, if I must tell the listeners now, which they are aware of, which parent or which mother, specifically mother, has the heart to take and strangle her child?
No, it's not easy, of course not. But Jazakallah so much for making us understand the situation that people are in and what it is that we need to do going forward. Thank you so much for your time. We seem to have run out of it. Jazakallah, you take care of yourself, and we wish you nothing but the best going forward to the future. Of course, to stay safe and stay at home during this difficult period.
Same to your team and salam.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That was Dr. Anwar Jeewa from Minds Alive Wellness Center, tapping us into the situation on the agony of the parents going through children with addictions. From myself, Nafisa Dango, it's come to that time of the day and the week where I have to actually say goodbye to all the wonderful listeners at Al Ansar who've given me the platform to listen to me and allow me to educate you in many directions, as well as to our Polokwane listeners. This is my last show with News and Views, filling in and standing in for Brother Inayat Wadi. It has been a phenomenal experience. It's taught me to be able to reach out to people in a different way, because my show happens on a Wednesday and Thursday afternoon between 2 and 4, where we tap on everything positive, from mindset to empowerment to upliftment, and changing people's views and using role models to make people understand that they can be enticed into a better space. So that's my normal show between 2 and 4 on a Wednesday and Thursday afternoon. I'd like to thank all of you for this phenomenal period that I've had, this wonderful week of News and Views. And I'm going to leave you with something very interesting written by John Bunyan. It says, "You have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you." Thank you so much from myself and the team. Assalamu alaikum. And we're going to be going up next with Juice 17 by Sheikh Yasin Al-Dosai.
كن أنت تزداد جمالا كن أنت تزداد جمالا لا 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 أتقبلهم الناس لست أقلدهم إلا بما يرضيني كي أرضيني سأكون أنا مثلي تماما هذا أنا فقناعتي تكفيني ذاك يقيني لا 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 نحتاج المال كي نزداد جمالا جوهرنا هنا في القلب تلالا لا لا نرضي الناس بما لا نرضاه لنا حالا ذاك جمالنا يسمو يتعالى كن أنت تزداد جمالا سأكون أنا من أرضى أنا لن أسعى لا لرضاهم وأكون أنا ما أهوى أنا ما لي